Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us today. Christmas is just under 2 weeks away, and it's fast approaching. Just after Christmas, we're going to have New Year's a few days after that. And then just a short, under 3 weeks after that, Joe Biden's going to be departing the White House back to whatever $1 million home his son Hunter helped him buy, and out into the sunset, hopefully to never be seen again. And I think we're all going to be happy about that for the destruction he's done to this country. Last week, Biden granting a little clemency to some folks. In fact, he granted 39 pardons on Thursday and over 1,000 commuted sentences. And what they're saying is the largest in the history of this country for presidential pardons in a single day. Now, the White House won't release the list of names on folks he's pardoning and folks that he is pardoned in that 39 and 1,000 people. Very interesting to see. I think we're probably going to find out that some of Hunter Biden's friends, former business associates, maybe family members are in that list of pardons, because I'm not sure why the White House would have a problem releasing that list. It's going to come out eventually anyway. Maybe they're just waiting until he leaves office for it to come out for no backlash. Who knows? I guess we'll see. The Biden administration also boasting last week about making the first arrest related to climate change ever, according to the EPA. In its annual report, the EPA says that enforcement efforts over the 2024 fiscal year included the first ever criminal charges for a crime related to climate change. That's what these folks have been up to, folks. We have a border that's wide open. We have illegals coming into this country selling drugs and human trafficking. But no, they're going after people who do climate change crimes now, apparently. Michael Hart, who's 58 years old, of San Diego, was convicted in September of illegally bringing forbidden greenhouse gases into the United States. According to a Department of Justice news release, which said the man was accused of smuggling potent greenhouse gases into the country. Court documents say from June of 2022 to December of 2022, Hart sold hydrofluorocarbons online. Once the orders were placed, Hart purchased the refrigerants in Mexico with the help of his conspirators and illegally imported them into the United States. Now, folks, the things that they're accusing him of importing and selling to the United States, the hydrofluorocarbons, are refrigerants for your refrigerator, for air conditioning units, for aerosols, for fire suppressant systems, for foam blowing, for insulations. And this is what the Biden administration is priding themselves on. Imagine that, a border that's absolutely out of control. And this is what they're worried about. I want to bring in today's guest. He knows a little bit something about the border. Victor Avila. Victor, it's great to have you back here on the Great America Show. I want to begin with that first, because you're somebody who knows a little bit about the border and how we've allowed it to be wide open with the illegals and drugs and human trafficking pouring in. The first EPA-related arrest, Victor. Are you proud of this country or what?
What about the priorities being screwed up? As you know, it's been upside down and backwards these last 4 years, and I can't wait for the real priorities: public safety, national security, economy, to be the forefront of what this administration, and I'm talking about the Trump administration, tackling everyday American issues that affect Americans all the way down to their neighborhoods. And you're going to see a dramatic change. This nonsense of climate change and all that. You're going to see, first of all, the funding go away for all those type of investigations. That's not going to, that money that was possibly used for that is going to be used for the investigations that we really want as Americans. As a matter of fact, the American people spoke and said that they want it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look at some of the budgets and the workforce, EPA's got 15,000 people working for them. Almost $1 billion budget. What a total waste of absolute money. You know, the thing that drives me nuts, and obviously neither you or I are EPA people or people who know, we know common sense, which I think is more important than some of this crap these people are doing. But they're so worried about America. You put $1 billion into this EPA, you hire 15,000 paper pushers. But if you go look at like China and you go look at the pollutions they're putting into the air, and I don't have to be a scientist to see this, Victor, but if you look at the ozone layer above China and over Beijing, it's a massive gaping black hole. And there's no place in this country that's actually like China. But we have an EPA that we waste $1 billion on a year. 15,000 people need jobs. Total bullshit. I want to turn to that border. And some of these news organizations, Victor, it seems in the month and change that President Trump has won, these news organizations are shifting massively. You look at Mark Zuckerberg giving $1 million to President Trump's campaign. He's scared as hell that they're going to come after his big tech, and they should, for everything he's done in 2016 and 2020 with the Zuckerbucks and the influencing elections. They went after alleged Russians who put up Facebook posts for election interference. I think we should go after Mark Zuckerberg for election interference, but that's a story for a different day. But some of these news organizations, Victor, are finally starting to report the news. And I think it's because they know the next 4 years is going to be very rough for them. A lot of them are already starting to realize that the women over at The View have meltdowns by the day. Those people need medicine. Joe and Mika Scarborough, another two. You can go down the list of these people. But the Washington Post, nonetheless, Victor, out with a report that they've done themselves that tells us that both Mexico and America are underreporting the deaths that are happening at the border. So I want to get your thoughts on that. Just some numbers from 2017 to 2023, around 1,100 people drowned in Eagle Pass. In 2023, more than 1 in 10 drowning, Victor, is a child. I want your thoughts on that.
I have personally seen the drownings there when my visits to the border. And yes, these deaths occur. And this is one thing that a lot of people don't understand, especially the left and the mainstream media, that they didn't want to report is one thing is Americans being affected by the financial impact of illegal immigration, the crime, the schools, the healthcare system that we talk about all the time. But the illegals themselves that are dying, drowning, raped, cooked to death by the sun. Right. And so when you secure that border, you're helping everyone. You're actually going to help secure everyone and prevent these crimes from happening to them. These atrocities that the cartels do, by the way, the corrupt government in Mexico, that the cartels that victimize these people, you're going to save them from being victimized. You're also going to clean that up as well. And so the underreported of these crimes, and we've been talking about, I know Tom Holman and I have been talking about it for years, the amount of death surrounding that border is a real thing. And some of these are very tragic, especially when it comes to children. But just this morning, another case of an illegal alien killing, in this case, a drunk driver, illegal alien in the Houston area, killed a 7-year-old little girl, Ivory Smith. I'm sick and tired of hearing these guys coming into our country and killing us, raping us, burglarizing our homes. We had about enough of this, and you're going to see a dramatic change of us going after these people and holding them accountable.
You mentioned one situation, I can mention another. A Tren de Agua gang member arrested this week. $1 million drug bust. I'm no drug user or have ever been, but I do know the price of what drugs cost, and $1 million is a lot of damn drugs, Victor. If it's fentanyl, it's $1 million that can kill a lot of damn people. Going back to the Washington Post and the underreporting of deaths, what people don't realize on the left, Victor, is that the person to blame for these deaths is the U.S. government, because they're aiding and abetting. When you have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris coming out here telling us, come, it's you can come here. You got Governor Pritzker saying, come, we'll be a sanctuary city for you. When you have Mayor Eric Adams, before he got indicted for taking money from Turkey, saying, come to New York, it's a sanctuary city. We'll rent out the Roosevelt Hotel for you for $100 million a year. They're aiding and abetting. They're telling these people, take the journey, pay the drug lords. A lot of what people don't realize too, Victor, and I know people who own restaurants in New York who have illegals working for them. And I talk to these illegals because I like to get a sense of, what it's like, the border, what the trek is like. I'm not like these Democrats, Victor. I don't want to just read the news. I want to talk to these people firsthand to understand what's going on. To put it in perspective, a fella I spoke to who goes back and forth through the border, through cartels. And by the way, nobody gets through the border without paying the cartels. If you think you're going to be killed. It's simple as that. Doesn't matter if you're a woman. It doesn't matter if you're a child. You will be killed. They give you the wristbands that tell you how much money you've paid, how much you have to pay at the next checkpoint. So I spoke to this fella. When Trump was in, or before Trump was in, it was about $5,000 to come to the country. It's now over $20,000 for these migrants to come through the southern border. We're aiding and abetting it, Victor. We've turned over to the border to the cartels. We allow them to run this smuggling operation, and nobody seems to care on the left. The Joy Behars, the Whoopi Goldbergs. Where is your heart? Where is your heart for these folks who think they're coming to America for a better life, but don't realize what they have to do to get here? And when they get here, it's not all the grass is greener on the other side.
Well, I thought they were supposed to be humanitarian, right? And they never care about that because, yes, Biden, Mayorkas, Harris, they have blood on their hands. They have deliberately put these people in these conditions to begin with because of what you just said, of the invitation and the magnets that are currently present in this country. So that's what's going to go away. The money's going to go away. The magnets and incentives that are bringing the illegals into this country is no longer going to exist. And I'm talking about employers. I'm talking about schooling. I'm talking about healthcare. I'm talking about the biggest issues of why the reason they come here to begin with. When you take away those incentives and secure the border, they're not going to pay the $20,000 to the cartel because it's going to be lost money. Right now, by the way, the smuggling, because of what's happening in this transition period, the smuggling is through the roof. Hundreds of stash houses are being located along El Paso, Texas, Laredo, Texas, and these border towns because they know that even though we have small groups of showing up in Eagle Pass, again, 200, 150 and so in El Paso, there's a lot of them that don't want to go through this process and say, I better get in and I'm going to pay extra money to get smuggled and not detected at all.
Victor, how do we, the problem is, and there was a story on this about 2 weeks ago, I think it was in the New York Post, that the folks in the construction industry are very upset because Trump wants to deport these illegals, and a lot of these folks get their employees through illegal immigration, as I mentioned, restaurants being some of the biggest folks, construction being another big one. This is my issue. Things after COVID, Victor, the prices, now I don't know where you live, if it's gotten this bad, but in New York, we obviously had inflation. It took a hit, but it wasn't as bad as some of these restaurateurs have made it. They've raised the price. Victor, you can't go into a restaurant here in New York and get a Caesar salad for less than like 15 or 16 bucks. Now, I know the price of lettuce is maybe went up 50 or 60 cents. It doesn't reflect the $3 or $4 that you guys are charging extra on the menu. The way I understand it is these illegals now are demanding more money. They see how much more money is coming into the restaurant, and they're demanding more money from these restaurant owners, from these construction owners. It used to be, Victor, where I live here in New York, if you're doing a construction job, you go down to the local Home Depot.
Yes.
And you pick up one of the fellas there. By the way, Victor, this is another thing I've seen change over the course of the last few years. It used to go and it was Hispanic folks. You'd see some Mexican fellas. You'd see some Venezuelans. Now you go and they're not there anymore. It's predominantly Haitians, people from Senegal. I don't know, what's going on at the border, where the people from Mexico are going, where the people from Venezuela are going, where the people from Honduras are going. But it's predominantly now here, people from Senegal and people from Haiti. And I'm not saying that based on their skin color. I've spoken to these people and I've asked them where they're from because I'm curious. So we're seeing a shift there. But now, Victor, it used to be you'd go get these guys for $100 a day. Right. Now they want $150, $200 a day. If you tell them you're doing masonry work, no, thank you. They're getting spoiled. So the second we tell these people, these restaurant owners, these construction workers, you can't hire these folks, I think we can settle down the problem because these people have no jobs now, which is how I think you have to tackle it because they only come here because of work. How can we hold these people, these owners of companies responsible to stop hiring these illegals because they are the problem?
Here's the key is, and you haven't heard of it in the last 4 years, it's called worksite enforcement, that both HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, and ICE, ERO, Enforcement Removal Operations work on. These groups have been non-existent for the last 4 years. They 100% focus on employers hiring illegal aliens. And we're talking about the construction business, the restaurant business, the food packing industries and those type of businesses. Now they're going to go after the employers. These groups are going to be up and running again, and they're going to go tackle. Now, here's the thing is that most of the time there's this huge fine, right, that's imposed on these companies, and they don't really care because they have the billions of dollars to pay. It's going to have to be an example of a criminal prosecution of some of these employers that is going to get their attention and say, wait a minute, I don't want to go to federal prison. Well, unless you stop hiring these illegal aliens. And once you start doing that, and it's all about enforcement of the law. By the way, there's no new laws to be invented here. We're just going to dust off the book that hasn't been used, and we're going to open those pages up to those laws and enforce them. And these, these sanctuary cities like Chicago, and kind of glad that New York is kind of jumping on board. I think they don't have a choice, but Chicago still now this morning saying that Tom Homan doesn't have any authority as a board czar. He's going to find out the hard way the authority that he has. And we're kind of saying, like Tom is saying, just stay out of the way, let us do our job. But if you get in front of us and try to impede and obstruct the federal government, you're going to find yourself in handcuffs.
Victor, there's a saying for that. I can't say it on air because of the integrity. Lou did not like when I cursed, but there's a saying, it's F around and find out. And these folks are soon going to find out. I want to take a quick break here, and I do want to take up Tom Homan meeting with Mayor Eric Adams this week and J.B. Pritzker saying that. But I also want to go a little bit further into the employment issue and how some of these folks are getting around Social Security numbers.
Yes.
We're coming right back with Victor Avila. He's a retired supervisory special agent with ICE, an organization we love so much. We're coming right back with Victor. Stay with us.
I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all MyPillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98, or our 6-piece towel sets, just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Folks, we're back. We're talking with Victor Avila. He's a former supervisory special agent with U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement. Victor, we were talking about how these illegals come into this country and how they get the permission to work here. I've witnessed firsthand people who come here and somehow get Social Security numbers. Now, it doesn't make any sense to me. You're not a citizen. You're not even a green card holder. You're not allowed to work here. But these folks are somehow getting Social Security numbers. They go to their employer. They hand them the Social Security card. And the employer writes it off and says, well, I don't know. I mean, you don't speak a damn word of English, but somehow you're a U.S. Citizen. You have no other papers, but somehow you have a Social Security number. And they wash their hands clean. They say, okay, it's a Social Security number in my books. You're okay to work here. How are we going to crack down on this? I mean, how do you felonize these people to stop this? Because what you're going to hear from these people, Victor, is we can't afford to stay in business if we don't hire illegals. Well, that's total bullshit, because 20 years ago, we didn't have all these illegals in this country taking these jobs, right? You went into the back of a restaurant, you'd see an old Italian guy working there, off the boat from Italy, a citizen. You'd go to an Irish pub and you had an Irish guy in the back working in the Irish pub. I mean, you go down the list of things, but we didn't have this issue 25 years ago. You didn't walk into the back kitchen of a restaurant and find 10 illegals there. You didn't go on a construction site and see 15 illegals working there. How do we get rid of the notion that we got to go out of business if we can't hire these illegals?
And I'm glad you're bringing that point, because this is the point that nobody really talks about when it comes to the employment of illegal aliens. We're talking about the fraud, the document fraud, the benefit fraud that occurs. And I worked a lot of these cases as an agent. These are criminal organizations, a lot of them tied to the cartels. So this is how the employer sometimes washes their hands, says, well, even though they know that this guy's illegal, but shows up with this Social Security number that doesn't belong to them. By the way, it's an identity theft. Yes. Also, it's somebody else's identity. I could tell you, I have a twin sister. Her identity was stolen by an illegal alien, and she suffered tremendously because of that for years while she was in law school. It happens to everyone. And so the benefit fraud and the investigations of the organizations providing the driver's license, providing the fake Social Security numbers, the fake birth certificates, not only of dead people, of people that are like you and me alive and steal their identity, but all this fraud that is surrounded that. It's not just the employer, hiring an illegal alien under the books cash. Yes, that happens a lot too. But of course, E-Verify is going to be huge. Right. It's going to be huge because E-Verify, these employers are going to have to go through the system of E-Verify, and that alone will reduce dramatically the amount of people that then can present the document. And here's the other thing. When an illegal alien comes to an employer and presents a fraudulent document, this is where the check with the E-Verify and the I-9 form comes in, and they're going to do these cross references and say, you're not the same person. Well, that's another crime that the illegal alien committed, actually. It doesn't excuse the illegal anymore. And sometimes the illegal gets kind of given a pass because, well, I just came here to work. Well, not only anymore, because now you actually committed fraud, you committed identity theft, you committed several other federal offenses here that you know well that what you were doing, and now you're going to be held accountable for it. So all of that is going to now be, you're going to hear about these cases now that you haven't heard, because again, there's a group under the HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. These are groups within the special agent in charge across the country called benefit and groups that go up there and all they do is investigate these type of frauds. Marriage frauds, by the way, is huge. Yep. All these different types of frauds that illegals try to get in to employers and manipulate our system are going to finally be looked at, and they're going to be held accountable.
Marriage fraud. I just read an article yesterday. That girl who came from Hawaii, I don't know if you saw it, but the girl who went to L.A., she was going to New York. She went missing. After L.A., her father wound up killing himself because he couldn't find his daughter for 2 weeks, was engaged in marriage fraud. She went on a trip with her boyfriend. They wanted to go to New York so they can take pictures to try to fool the system. I don't.
By the way, let me say something really quick. The other agency here that you're going to hear a lot about is USCIS, U.S. Immigration and Citizen Services. There's going to be a lot of cleanup there. They're the ones that sometimes are the first ones to detect this fraud, but obviously in the last 4 years haven't done anything about it. This is where a lot of people are going to be caught through that process.
Yeah, and you know what? The budget, they want to talk, the Republicans and the Democrats both, because they're both guilty of this, always want to spend money, Victor. They want to send money over to Ukraine. I can't wait to spend money on programs like CIS, ICE, DHS, and dumping billions and billions of more dollars into it, because this is agencies that really need it. Going back to some of these employees that these people are hiring, the thing that really pisses me off, Victor, because going through college, I worked as a DJ, I worked as a bartender, I worked various jobs to make money, and I loved working. I absolutely loved it. It made me appreciate the value of money, and I was fortunate enough to have my parents pay for my college. So I'd go out and work, and I was a college kid with all this damn money that I was out there making, and it made me appreciate it. But I saw how things work. The notion that you can't stay in business because of labor rates is total bullshit. You know why, Victor? When you go to a 7-Eleven, when you go to a Dunkin' Donuts, now it may be a massive corporation, but they're people who buy these corporations and they're operated individually. When you go to a gas station, these folks are making minimum wage. When you go to a Walmart, they're making minimum wage, and they somehow manage to get by. They manage to find these employees. So these people want to get out by paying these folks cash and not pay the payroll taxes on it and all that stuff. It's total BS. It's not going to put them out of business. You go to any restaurant, Victor, in New York City, and you're not leaving for two people if you're drinking alcohol for less than $200. You're telling me you can't pay someone an extra $3 or $4 an hour? It's total bullshit.
I'll tell you what's going to be exposed, and it's going to be exposed on these employers that exploit these individuals, because you're absolutely right. They don't want to pay them. No. They don't want to pay them the fair wage. And there's a lot of exploitation, labor exploitation, as you're going to see. As a matter of fact, we've already been seeing it this past year, because we talk about sex trafficking a lot. Well, there's labor trafficking of a lot of these individuals, and a lot of them are children that are being put in meatpacking plants in Florida, 9-10-year-olds working in these chicken factories. And so you're going to see a lot of that come to an end, because these employers are not going to get away with this anymore, because they want to save their money, their earnings, their pocketbook, but which is the only advantage that they have. But you're right; it's not gonna make a difference. Construction of houses is not gonna be impacted. In the 1960s, when immigration was low, we still built houses and buildings in this country. And so the only difference here is that if you want to do it right, and you want to come to the U.S., you're going to see different opportunities to do it the legal way. But for now, you're going to have to go back to your home country and start that process again.
And Victor, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but it's a matter of dollars and cents. It's not a matter of paying someone $150 a day versus $300 a day. It's a matter of paying someone $150 a day versus $175 a day and paying the tax on it, being a law-abiding citizen, paying taxes. I've always worked, W-2 jobs, so I've never had a chance to escape taxes. But all these people, Victor, now the whole no tax on tips, I'm all in favor of that. These people are doing the service industry. They shouldn't be paying tax on tips, in my opinion. But you're on the books, you're making a living wage, you should be paying taxes on it. And a lot of these restaurant owners, and I use them because I have a lot of friends who are restaurateurs, is a matter of dollars and cents. The other thing is the justification of prices. I have a family friend, Victor, who wanted to do an extension on their house in New York in, I think, probably 2014, 2015. Let's say it was $300,000. 4 years later, it was close to $700,000 for the same renovation. There's no possible way, inflation included, to justify a doubling of price, because I guarantee you these folks who worked for him weren't making double the money what they were making in 2012 or 13 versus 2015, 2016. So people now are making more money. The rich are getting richer. The people who are owning these businesses are making more money now than they've ever made before. And they're just being selfish and they don't want to share it. And they want to get away with the cheap, illegal immigrant labor. And I think the time is over for that. Victor, I want to turn to the border. President Trump tapping former Border Patrol Chief Rodney Scott to take over as the head of Customs and Border Protection, CBP. What's your thoughts on Rodney? You think Rodney's going to shore up that damn border?
I love Rodney. He's a personal friend of mine, and I talked to him right after the announcement, and he is ready to go. As you know, he was the chief of Border Patrol, and one thing that Rodney's going to bring, he has integrity. He's the one that the Biden administration basically forced him out because he wasn't going to do what Border Patrol was forced to do the last 4 years. He said, I'm not going to participate in this. And so that's the type of integrity that Rodney Scott brings as a CBP commissioner, which oversees Border Patrol and CBP Customs at the ports of entry and airports. And there's going to be a lot of attention being placed there because of the trade, of the negotiations that we're going to do with Mexico. Remember, we don't talk about ports of entry a lot, but there's a lot that we can do there. I kid around with Rodney and I said, well, maybe it'll be 100% checks, Rodney, initially. 100% checks on every single person and every single vehicle coming through that. You know the type of chaos that it would cause on the Mexican side? And I'm talking about it affects everyone. And this is the problem, is that the United States doesn't want to affect the free trade and the fair trade and the legal people that come in back and forth on the border. We want that to happen. I lived on the border. I was born and raised in the border. We want that to continue. The legal system of that has always existed. The problem is that they get affected with all the other criminal activity that happens at the border and the cartels and the smuggling of people and drugs. And so, unfortunately, sometimes there's going to be some sacrifices, but there's a lot of things that could be done out on the line at that border in between the ports of entry. I know Rodney's going to do it. He's on board with Tom Homan. There's going to be a team effort there. You're going to see these different directors and commissioners from different agencies come together along with the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. It's going to be a group effort of people that know how to do it. And you're going to see a dramatic impact right away. By the way, the border is going to be something you're going to have to wait about. The deportation and all that, it's going to be, it's going to be implemented. You're going to start seeing it maybe a little bit slower, but you're going to see the dramatic impact on day one at the border.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. And then you're exactly right. The harder you make it for these people to come into this country, the less they're going to want to come. And you're absolutely right. 100% checks. You look at how much drugs probably get by in the border. And you know what? I wouldn't even put it past we know there's corrupt FBI agents in this country. Who's to tell us there's not corrupt Border Patrol agents who are overlooking these things? I mean, it's in every agency. I'm not.
Unfortunately, in my career, I put a corrupt Border Patrol agent in prison and a corrupt CBP inspector. It happens. It's the reality of what we live in, but those get weeded out as well.
Yeah, and like it's in every industry. It's not like I said. I'm not vilifying Border Patrol because 99.9% of these folks are actually great people, and they go out there and do a great job. They're just handcuffed, not even metaphorically, literally handcuffed from doing their job. So they're dealt the short end of the stick. But you think about how much corruption is there where we're actually letting this in, and it's not even these folks' fault. It's the government. They say the cartel owns the border, so go ahead and have at it, do whatever the hell you want. We're talking with Victor Avila, former supervisory special agent for ICE. We're coming right back. Stay with us.
Because of your overwhelming support, our $14.88 MyPillow has been one of the biggest sales in MyPillow history. I couldn't think of a better way to say thank you than to extend our wholesale pricing through Christmas. Get a classic standard MyPillow for only $14.88. Upgrade to a queen size, just $18.88. King size, only $1 more. Get my body pillows for only $29.88. And ready? Multi-use MyPillows, only $9.88. It's perfect time to stock up for Christmas gifts for everyone on your list. Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our wholesale pricing. Including my classic standard MyPillows, only $14.88. But that's not all. I'm so confident you're going to love our classic MyPillows that I'm going to extend my 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, orders over $75 ship absolutely free.
We're back, folks. Thanks for staying with us. We're talking with Victor Avila, former supervisory special agent for ICE. Victor, we spoke about our southern border in great depth in this first two segments. I want to talk about something people don't talk about a lot, and that's our northern border. President Trump met with Justin Trudeau just weeks after winning the election. Trudeau ran down to Mar-a-Lago because President Trump used the T word, and no, not Trudeau, the tariff word. And it seems to be a great bargaining chip because this man caved like a cheap folding chair that Joe Biden uses at the beach. Trudeau now is having a rough time dealing with his Trump derangement syndrome, excoriating America for not electing the first female president. Take a listen to Mr. Trudeau.
Now, it shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
Victor, that guy's a total freak, and I'm questioning now after seeing that if he's a man himself. I mean, the notion that America's not ready for a woman is just total nonsense. You see how many women are in leadership in Congress. You look at how many women are in the Senate. It's total bullshit and nonsense.
He's Trump's nominees for all these positions.
Right. If you put up a woman who's worth a while, the American people will vote for it. They knew Kamala Harris was totally full of shit. They knew every word out of her mouth was a lie. They knew she was a phony. They knew she was a drunk. They knew she didn't have an original thought of her own. With Hillary Clinton, the American people knew how corrupt she was. You put up two of the worst female candidates, Victor, in the history of this country, you're going to get a result like you got. And President Trump beat them like a drum both times. It didn't matter. If you put up Joe Biden this election, President Trump was going to beat him like a drum. Maybe not as bad as he beat Kamala, but he was going to beat him like a drum. You put up a woman who's worthwhile.
We're tired of the identity politics. It doesn't work with the American people anymore. People want a qualified, vetted person in these positions, and they're going to see that with the new Trump administration and the people that are being selected to place there.
Speaking of women, who did he pick to run DHS, Victor? Was that a woman?
That's right. Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota. And let me tell you, she's on board. She's on board to, I know she's on board with Tom Homan and Rodney Scott and all to get this agenda, the mission of the Homeland Security mission. Remember that there is one, by the way, to protect our sovereignty and our borders. And you're going to see that really drastic change, especially coming from under the regime of Mayorkas in the last 4 years.
You know what? I hate that man more than I don't hate anybody, Victor, but I hate that man for what he's done to this country, for all the problems he's caused in this country. And he gets up there arrogant and pompous, like who the hell he is. That man's a criminal. The fact that the Republicans couldn't get through to impeach that man and make his life living hell, it absolutely enrages me because he's a criminal. For what he's allowed to happen in this country is a criminal. But we're talking now optimistically about a new regime. and I say regime as a joke, but the Trump administration coming in, and one of these folks, Tom Homan. I know Tom very well from working with him at Fox News and having him on the show. And I know Tom to be a straight shooter. There's no BS with that guy. What you see is what you get. He doesn't care if it's sugar coated or not. He's a New Yorker at heart. And everyone who watches the show each and every day, you can see my mentality. It's something we're born with. The New York. When Ted Cruz said New York values about Donald Trump, he was right. Us New Yorkers are a different breed of people. We're raised differently to handle situations different. We have a little bit thicker skin than somebody from maybe California. Tom Homan has that. What do you think we're going to get out of Tom Homan as border czar?
Well, you're gonna get a different type of authority, and I use the word authority given to him by President Trump in fixing the border problem. But I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna get with Tom Homan that a lot of people might not associate this word with him, and that is compassion. The man understands what we as individuals, as he was an agent, a border patrol agent himself, have seen the dead bodies, have seen the dead children, the raped children that him and I have seen firsthand, and we're sick and tired of that compassion that he know how Tom Homan says he wakes up pissed off every day because of that. And I was fortunate enough to have been working with Tom for the last couple of years with Border 911. I was just with him just a couple of days ago. And he is at a mindset right now, in a mission mindset, a warrior mindset of saying enough is enough. You're going to see some dramatic changes, especially with those that want to help us. Local jurisdictions, sheriffs, police departments. This is a team effort. This is not President Trump by himself or Tom Homan by himself. This is a team effort of a lot of people. Like, hey, you want to jump on board? You want to help save America? You want to help save your neighborhood? Let's go. Let's do it. If not, get out of our way. If you're going to impede us, we're going to put you in jail because you're impeding us. But we want to fix this big problem. And it's a big problem of crime and everything else that we've been talking about. And Tom Homan I can't think of a better person to be in the forefront of it.
And you know what? In Homan, he gets a worker. And anyone who knows Trump knows that Trump is a damn worker. It's 24/7. The guy maybe sleeps 4 or 5 hours a night, and he's up 5, 6 o'clock in the morning back to work. He gets that with Tom Homan. I've seen Tom Homan sleep at Fox News in the green room to make hits early in the morning. I mean, He's getting a workhorse in Tom Homan. That's for damn sure. And he's getting, like I keep saying, he's getting an absolute straight shooter. Someone who's going to report right to President Trump, someone who's not going to go through any loopholes or anything like that, have to worry about getting through the ladder of people and this and that. He's going to go right to President Trump, and I think they're going to get the job done once and for all. And Victor, they have no excuse. We have the presidency, you have the Congress, you have the Senate, you have the Supreme Court. And by the Supreme Court, I'm being facetious to piss people off like the Democrats, but you have it all. So you have absolutely no excuse. Mike Johnson on day one, and this was a mistake Paul Ryan making. I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was on purpose. But on day one, the border needs to be the first issue. After you pardon the January 6ers, the border needs to be the first issue because it's an easy one. We can get it through. Paul Ryan started with healthcare. He hung up the thing for a damn year trying to get Obamacare gone, and it wasted so much time. The border is something so easy. You pass an appropriation of the border, you fund the border wall, you hire 10 companies to go ahead and install that damn wall, and you can have it up in a month. President Trump knows that. He knows real estate. He knows how it works. That needs to be the first issue on day one. What do you think?
I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen. You're going to have those rhinos that are in another Republican Party that are going to oppose it. One of them is Tony Gonzalez that I ran against that guy because I kind of wanted to say, I told you so. Well, he's already kind of verbalizing that he's going to oppose some of these mass deportations. And I'm like, here we go again. These are the Republicans, by the way. I'm not talking about the left. And that's the problem. That the only difference here is that they're going to be singled out. The spotlight is going to be on them. And I don't think they're going to be able to afford that spotlight when the American people are demanding what they, this mandate that you heard of, right, that they want. And yes, the border is one, the economy is a close second. And they're not going to be able to, they got away with it with voting with the left for so many years. They're not going to get away with it now. There'll be too much pressure, especially in Texas, for these representatives to pretend that because they're rhinos or Democrats in disguise. And so that's the only issue I foresee, that our own Republican Party will be the ones that are actually opposed to it.
Well, Victor, I have a rebuttal to that, and you might like it. It's one word: 2026. The good thing about congressmen is they only serve 2-year terms. So they want to F around. They're going to find out in 2026. And if you decide you want to run in 2026, Victor, I've run many congressional campaigns successfully and unsuccessfully. I will give you my word. I will come down to Texas and I will help you out for free. Because we can't afford to be doing this anymore, Victor. We cannot. The country, no. I mean, if Trump lost in November, Victor, I truly think things would have been over. And I'm not being hyperbolic about it. We would have allowed in another 20 million illegals. We would have registered them to vote. A Republican would have never won again. President Trump, by the grace of God and the grace of him meeting Elon Musk, happened to win it. Thank the Lord, because we would have lost this damn country. Going back to home, and people are going crazy, Victor. Democrat activists. He's meeting, and by workhorse, I mean workhorse. The man's already getting to the job. He was in Chicago last week, meeting with folks there to try to figure out how to get cracking over there. On Thursday last week, he was in New York City meeting with Eric Adams, and the Democrat activists are going absolutely insane, saying it's despicable. What's despicable about following the laws that this nation were founded on, Victor?
In Tom Homan's words, tell me what the downside is to a secure border. Right. Tell me what the downside is to less trafficking, to less human smuggling, to less crime by illegal aliens. Tell me what the downside is. It is incredible to me that the Chicago mayor and all these other sanctuary city people would want to side with the cartels. They want to side on what side are you on? What country do you think you're representing here? And the people, by the way, even in the blue states, you have a large number of constituents that voted red. And it might have not turned that state red, and it still might be blue. But the people, and California is a perfect example of it. You see a lot of red in this map, and you cannot ignore that population as well. They are seeking and demanding. And I say this to the American people. You start at the local level. You have to hold your local politician and representative accountable for what you want and what you voted for, because this is going to trickle down all the way to the local level. You're going to see this. We're talking about the local police department, the local sheriffs, and there are already some sheriffs and people are saying, well, the mayor's not going to allow them to work with ICE. Well, the county judge is not going to allow them. Listen, I've been talking to a lot of police departments and a lot of sheriffs and police chiefs, and a lot of them are patriots, and they're like, we don't care what they say. Because we're not asking them to do anything illegal. We're just going to ask them to follow the law, and they will be doing absolutely nothing wrong in helping ICE find these guys and send them back home.
You know, I don't know if you watch the show or not, Victor, but you're saying exactly what I say every single day on the show. I'm not asking you to recreate the law. I'm not asking you to break the law. I'm asking you to follow the law. And if you follow the laws that are on these books, Victor, you get to an end result that gets these people the hell out of this country and these towns secured. Now, it's going to take each and every one of us to do this, and it's good to see now that there's some folks doing that. San Diego Sheriff, her name is Kelly Martinez, has rejected this is from her Southern California County Board, a new sanctuary policy that they adopted where they want to make San Diego a sanctuary city.
A super sanctuary, you said, right?
Kelly Martinez saying, quote, the Board of Supervisors does not set policy for the sheriff's office. The sheriff, as an independently elected official, sets the policy for the sheriff's office. California law prohibits the Board of Supervisors from interfering with independent, constitutionally and statutorily designated investigations, a function of the sheriff. I love this woman. I've never met this woman. I've never even heard of her before, but I absolutely love this woman. It's going to take more people like her to stand up, Victor. Where do we find them?
I'll tell you, they're all over Texas, and these sheriffs are anxious to work. Tom Homan was down with Sheriff Daniels in Cochise County, Arizona. He's ready to go. Mark Daniels, all these other sheriffs around Arizona and Texas, they're anxious and ready to go. And that's what we want. We want the response of, like the one of you just read in San Diego, of these sheriffs to say, listen, I have the law on my back. I have the citizens behind me. We got their six. We're going to do this for the benefit of everyone, by the way. By the way, we're not going to say, well, we're going to go in there and only represent the Republicans. No. Public safety affects everyone across the board positively. Yep. Crime going down affects everyone. We want our children to go back and ride their bicycles where we used to. We want to be able to visit parts of town that we haven't been able to visit because it's full of illegals and crime written in these areas. That's the big change, that when people start realizing that it's only going to get stronger. And you mentioned something about the elections and everything else, about how the people, where we got. Well, I think that if we wouldn't have won this election, which you just said, and I believe 100%, this is where we get the opportunity to continue this, not just for 4 years, but the next 12, 18 years, because this is the movement that the American people are recognizing that this is the right path. Because one, it's the truth. One, it's safety. One, it's what the American dream, rather than the fundamental change that the left was trying to do by all these different means, right? By destroying this country. And now we're on the right path that makes, it brings a smile to my face. I know that it's exciting. It's a lot of work ahead, but with everybody's input and everybody's help, it's going to definitely get there.
Yeah. And I think this is where we conclude, Victor, because I couldn't say it any better. The only thing I would add to that is that it wasn't just a one election, Victor. It was a mandate by the American people. Over 50% of the American public voted for this. And you look at these poll numbers, it's not just the popular vote that President Trump won. You look at some of these poll numbers on how Americans are viewing mass deportations. They are heavily in favor of it. After this election, Victor, I've been in politics for most of my adult career. I like to look at the numbers. I went down some of the numbers in some of the deepest blue areas, Victor, you can possibly find in New York, in California. Would you be surprised if I told you that for the first time in many years, President Trump won Beverly Hills, California? That's a place where, Victor, 4 or 5 years ago, if you walked around with a Trump hat, you'd probably get your head taken off by some of these Marxist leftists. Beverly Hills County decisively. This is a momentum. It's a massive shift, and it breaks my heart to know that this was President Trump's last election he'll ever run, because no Republican can ever do. I love Don Jr. to death. If Don Jr. decides to run one day, I don't even think he can do what his father does, because he's just so loved by people. And to see things like that, Victor, I want to get your thoughts. Lastly, where are we going to see Victor? Is Victor going to make another run for Congress? Is Victor heading to the Trump administration? What's up with Victor?
I'll tell you what, I'm ready to go. If I get a call from the Trump administration, I am ready. I've told Tom Homan I'm ready to come and serve at any capacity. I've been in public service since the age of 22. I'm ready to come out of retirement and come back and give everything that I have. And you mentioned something that caught my attention when you mentioned Tom Homan as a workhorse. I'm proud of being a working agent, something that I have always allude to when I speak around the country. And people say to me, what do you mean you're a working agent? Well, I like to work. Right. And this is going to be the accountability across the federal government, by the way. You've heard about the people not wanting to come back to the office, and they want to, all that nonsense is going to go away. It's going to be cleaned out. We want people that want to work. They want to work with a mission that put America first. And it's a beautiful thing. I get chills as I talk to you about it. I would love the opportunity to be considered, and I hope I do. And either way, I'll be in a role where I'll be around, stick around. Politics is not in my near future right now, but in any way I could serve, I'll definitely be available to do it.
And if any way we could be of help, we're happy to help you. You mentioned you're retired and ready to go back to work. I don't know if you saw, but a few months ago, there was an article published. If Trump won, there was hundreds, if not thousands, of Border Patrol agents who wanted to come back to work, who are willing to forego their pension for right now and get back to work.
They're ready. I've gotten the phone calls like crazy. They're ready to come. They want to come back as contractors. Some want to come back as we hired a new one, whatever. I know that the Trump administration is going to consider them because, by the way, you don't have to wait for the training. You don't have to wait for academies. You don't have to hire another 10,000 Border Patrol, which we will. But right now, these guys will be ready to go on day one.
Yep, and I think it's an absolute great idea. Victor Avila, former supervisory special agent for ICE. We thank you for joining us today, and we'll hope you'll come back soon.
Always great to be with you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us today here on the Great America Show. Victor Avila, a great American, and we thank him for all his great work he's done, both on the border and getting the word out to Americans in this country. The border is a big issue that we need to not let off the gas, and we need to talk about it each and every day in order to fix it, because it's not going to fix itself. We have President Trump, but he needs all of our help to get it done. And that's exactly what we're going to do here on this Great America Show. Folks, we'll see you back here tomorrow. Same time, same place, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs.